Alright, so we are in XP11 on the JarDesign Airbus A330 and we're currently on stand at Toronto Pearson and we're going to go down to JFK. So just got all the ground handling plugins loaded at the minute just so that I can refuel properly and get all the payload and stuff on. Jump in the flight deck here and we'll get started. So the JarDesign A330 was something I bought myself just to give it a try. I loved it, so I then bought the Thrustmaster kit that goes with it. It's said to the one thing I love about Airbus aircraft, even though it is a bit of a caveat, is the fact that the keyboard is in order, but then when you try to go back to your normal keyboard, it's a bit confusing. Yep, that one looks fine. And by IRS. 8 minutes. Cool. So DAL. I'm going to just do 25 blocks. Why not? Cruising altitude 25,000 feet. Oh, okay. So does it really want 250? There's a bit of learning with this. 25,000. There we go. Cost index of 8. Now, for some reason, when I go to update the QNH stuff, it does tend to freeze the game. Absolutely no idea why that is, but if you just bear with it. And here you can see the altimeter. I'm still learning, but I want to assume this is it here, so 3015. So 3015. Cross reference. Yep. The good thing about the JarDesign A330 as well is that it replicates a good amount of all the systems, so it is quite good in that respect. Let's have a look. Loading fuel. Here we are. Right, so this was just me testing it out. So I'd done these random figures here because the goal is to get your takeoff trim from this number here down as low as you can, but I have noticed that if you get it to 0, it will start shouting at you. So let's get this number down. It does take a bit of. There we are. So the more weight you add on, the less the trim is needed. But it does take a wee bit of trial and error. See, now we're all the way up at 7, so this is going to be fun. Let's have a look. So cabin C, I can do 100 and I believe that's the max capacity. I'm not really sure how realistic it is though, but I believe that's the max capacity. So my goal is So we're adding weight at the back, which is then reducing the trim load, because the trim basically means that the aircraft is too heavy at the front. So what the goal is to get the trim down as far as you can. There we go. Cargo bay number 1 seems to have done the trick. So, let's have a look. Number 2. Since all the passengers are in the back, you can more or less just balance this out. And a bit more weight. There we go. Right. So, initialization, crossover, through fuelway, and lock fuel. And the ground handling add-on has a nice little feature where it will tell you the extra fuel at arrival is 4.59 tons. So what I'm going to do, so the only annoying thing, this here is how much is actually on the aircraft. This bit here is how much you want to load, but if you want to load an additional 4 tons, you then have to go and select 14, refuel, and then it will say here. So that looks about good. Yep, that's fine. So we can close the load sheet and ground handling, and the fueler can drive away. Right, so performance. So normally I do a flaps 2, and just before I forget, what was the trim setting? 1.5 up. Right, so 2 slash up 1.5, and the aircraft will automatically do that for us, as you can see here. Let's have a look. So that's moving, and this then gives us our V speeds. So V1 129, VR 132, V2 135. Okay, and the IRS will be aligning in 2 minutes. Right, so flight plan. Let's have a wee look. So I haven't done a flight plan for this. I do not know what runways and stuff to use, but we'll make it work. CYYZ, departure, and one little hack I use is Shift 4. I just zoom out and see what runway is closest. So 24 right. 24 right. And let's quickly go into flight plan mode. Right, so airco. I am not a professional pilot by any means necessary. I just enjoy messing around and seeing where it takes us. Some of these waypoints have got really, really, really strange names, especially over the States. Right, so, yep. Another weird thing is it won't let you insert the arrival until you've inserted the departure and the flight plan, which is really annoying. So, if we take off with the 180, we're facing somewhere around about 1.3. So, let's have a look. So far work. What? Yeah, we'll make this work. And this continuity, let's remove that. And that means that we just go. Yeah. Right, so flight plan's done. And we can hopefully get going. So we're not on VATSIM or anything, so we're just going to go straight to cruise. And let's have a look. Right, so APU master, then start. Well, that's doing its thing. So the pushback thing that we use here is called better pushback. You can pre-plan it, which I find very helpful. And you can essentially plan a pushback, although I suppose we're probably better getting pushback here. Yeah, let's give that a try. This was actually, I cannot remember the name of the YouTuber.
Grounded cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me when you're ready.
But it was a YouTuber that I had watched for a few years, can't remember the name. And he had explained 10 add-ons that he recommended, and better pushback was one of them. And so when I had XP11 come out, I was hoping that this is one of the add-ons that would have came across.
Passengers complains whether the cabin too cold. May I ask you to increase the temperature?
Temperature. Yeah, that's a first one. As long as the doors are closed, I don't really care. Right, so APU's up and running. So yeah, so he had suggested the Better Pushback plugin, and when I had seen the XP11 come out, I was hoping it was one of the ones that would have came across, and it did. So we were very, very happy with that. So let's find everything there set. Yep. So on the Airbus, these three dashes and the dot basically mean that these the speed and heading will be managed by the autopilot completely. The altitude, this basically means that it's ready to be engaged by the autopilot. But of course we select that as if you're IRL, you can be guided anywhere. Right, so barrel reference is set. Oh, sights. Right, so anti-collision booster on, flying line on, nav number 1, and stroke auto. Now, for some reason, Better Pushback does not like any of these lights being turned on. No clue why that is, but it's just part of the fun, shall we say. Windows and doors aren't closed. Okay. Strange one. Let's see the U doors, and we'll just close them all. How better? Yeah, there we go. And that should tick. This barrel reference one I've never really been able to get to work. It seems to just sort of do its own thing. So yeah, we don't really worry about that much. So yeah, now we are ready to go. And oh yeah, another annoying thing about ground handling is kind of have to make them all drive away. Um, so they'll disappear. That's just part of the sim world.
The doors are armed. The doors are armed. Passengers complains wetting the cabin too cold. May I ask you to increase the temperature?
So this annoying thing is just that you've got this bit here enabled. PA can also get turned off. Switch to that. I'm not actually in that sim or anything, so this really doesn't matter that much. Right. So, push back and start push back.
Tow is driving up. Tow is driving up.
So this little guy here is your tow truck, and oh, the wonderful graphics. Ground handling. I know, there we go. For some reason it doesn't always vanish, but that's just the perks of that, I suppose. So, see if there's anything exciting happening.
All doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Well, I would hope so. Oh yeah, I'm just going to go over to here, just have a wee nosy. Let's have a look. Yep. All good here. I've got some checklists and stuff that I have on my Mac that I use, but they're not always really necessary, but they're good to have. Oh.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Oh, release parking brake. Yeah, there we are.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
You may start engines. Oh yeah. So the joy of this is that you can start your engines whenever you please. So if I remember rightly, ignition start, engine number 2 is the one that they start with before they go to engine number 1. And we have another viewer. Hello, welcome. Right, so this bit here is your takeoff checklist, which the Airbus does pretty much by itself. So, spoilers, arm, flaps to takeoff config, and auto brake set to max. Auto brake set to max is just in case you are doing a rejected takeoff and the aircraft will stop on its own. Right, so that is stable, and now we can start number 1. Oh, some of the other chats are coming through. Let's have a look. Right, so that's engine stable. I normally just leave it like that until pushback's stopped and everything else. Now the A330 is probably one of my favourite wide bodies. One, I'm a huge Airbus geek, and two, look at that. Also, the engines. You can't beat that. Right, so that's all done. Just do the pushback to stop, and then I'll turn the ignition off, and the parking brake will be requested to be set. We should be finished with it. The only problem is some of the stands on the default scenario aren't realistically painted out and things, so you do end up with an aircraft that can be parked randomly.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
And so the pushback is quite
Okay,
unrealistic of
stand
having
by.
to push back way too far. I know it does happen, but it's not going to do. Apparently he got a new van today for his work, and he's just texted me there saying that it's a hybrid, but it's like a computer game for him to try and work out. So that's that's fun. So he's like, "Oh, I'm going to come and pick you up at some point, and you can show me how this works." Right. So back to this anyway. So we've given
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have fun up
right.
there.
So we're just waiting for this bit to drive away. There'll be a great animation of someone getting out the car, and she'll be holding up the bypass pin. There's our friend driving away there, and our other friend will soon be visible. There you are. Great animations. Great. Right, so in real life, as soon as you've seen that, and you've actually seen that they've got the pin in their hand, you are good to go. So, let's get this going. Right, so a bit of breakaway thrust. And over here, landing lights, taxi, and runway. I mean, we're that close to the runway, we may as well just put the quick up ones on now. Saves us a bunch of time. Now, the only hyper-realistic part of this that I do not like at all is you're using the tiller, and you go to turn, and you maybe turn a wee bit too much, and it continues to go straight because the wheels have basically turned like that. So that's always fun. And before we go any further, I will do a control check, which is part of the before takeoff checklist. But I will get lined up first, and then we can do that. Now, the reason I bought the JarDesign is because it seems to be more out-of-the-box compatible with the Thrustmaster. I do have the toolless Airbus A320, which I'm happy to do in a future stream, but right now it's just a lot of setup that I just don't really have the time for. Right, it's not perfect, but we will Parking brake here, quickly. And so, fill up, fill down, fill right, fill left pedal, fill right pedal. Okay. Right, cabin crew advised. Right, this is kind of one of those ones that's a bit confusing. FA power people. Again, it's meant to be realistic, but there's just elements to it that I'm just like, I don't know how any of this works. I'm also hoping you guys are enjoying the background. It's one of my own photos that I take. Which the QR code, which you'll find in one of the corners of the screen, it is attached to my link tree, and you can find my Instagram page there, along with other social medias that I'm on, YouTube, Twitch, however you'll find me. Right, so this is nowhere near a straight lineup, but we will make it work. Right. That's straight enough. Right, so 50%. Let it stabilize, and we will go to Toga. Okay. Manners, SRS, fine, that's fine. Okay.
V1.
Rotate.
V1.
Have a look. You're up, positive round. Oh, I told the DP you on. Lever. Oh, bit too high. The tap. This is the good thing about Airbus as well, is it shows you the flight path at launch. And with this district at all pilot. This arm. Start to reduce some blocks. Okay, so I am going to take a very, very quick break from you guys, but I will be back as soon as we have reached 10,000 feet. Okay, we are back at 10,000 feet. So, landing lights north, 3 should have been in a long time ago. Same as these. And we'll just continue the climb. Yeah, that's a really steep great climb, but apparently autopilot knows best. So, we'll make that one work. Let's have a wait, like, see if there's anything going on in the chat. Nothing yet. Okay. Have a look. If there's anything I'm missing. Should I have strike all these? But that's fine. All good. So I'm actually quite surprised that it's saying here that my live stream is going quite well. And it's got the excellent rating on both YouTube and on Twitch, so I'm quite happy with that. So this is the flyby mode. For those of you who may have played FSX before, this looks sort of familiar, but it's more of a static. Not really my favourite, but we make it work. And then I've got other views configured here. Port behind wing. To be fair, this is actually my first ever stream doing it through Twitch and YouTube, and never done it before, so I'm still hoping it's all going well, and whoever's watching it now or in the future, I'm kind of hoping you are enjoying it, because I know I'm enjoying making it. So this here flashing means you have to put that in standard, which is the symbol set, I believe, QNH1013, and in the US that's 299902, I believe. So we're heading up towards. I'm not going to see that on live stream, but sure you can see that. And so, I'll run you through what I believe that I've been told a lot of this information means. So, this I believe is the actual heading of the waypoint. This is how far away from it you are, not miles. And this time here, I believe, relates to what time you'll arrive according to this clock here. It's normally 1 or 2 minutes out, but you can make it work. Go back to that when you do them. Like, wow. Good engines. I do like telling animations though, they're quite smooth, especially for something that's high-end graphics and it's quite power intensive. It's quite smooth. No idea how I managed to forget that, but mistakes happen on stream. Especially when it's all live. Right. And we have not lost engines. That's just the aircraft reaching its cruising out, and it will just sort of sit there. Now, how gorgeous is that view? Just wow. Although I do really like the build delivery. Although you may have noticed that the registration here has NW at the end, which means the aircraft of that registration was initially for Northwest Airlines, which is one of those weird facts that I learned in all my years of being an aviation addict. Hence the username. Right. Shouldn't miss anything. All seems well. Still, thing about your bus cockpits that I like is the table. Although it does have a bit of a Boeing feel, considering they've got checklists sort of put here, which I find a bit strange, but hey ho, if you can't beat them, join them. Right, so I believe the LAX isn't that, sorry, not even LAX, KFK isn't that far away from Toronto, obviously not that far, but usually far. This is why you always review the flight plan before you pick up, because you're bound to find something. Joined up right, or yeah, joins. Right. I will be back shortly for you guys, and I will just let you enjoy some of the nice views outside the aircraft and the aircraft itself. And we are back at the top of descent. So, we are doing an issue at 75,000 feet. And we will be right back. And we are back. So, this flashing bit here for your altimeter just means it's want us to reset it and arrive at the airport. So, K006 here. It's performance. Next. 006. 0.0 text. So we're just descending now towards the runway. Well, we'll descend towards the approach first. And so hopefully soon we shall be filling an approach, which appears to be correct. So I will be back with you once we are aligned on the approach path. And now as we approach 5,000 feet, we're going to continue to descend 5,000. And the ILS, just this part here. And once we reach this point here, we just start decelerating. And then we can get some flaps and stuff on it. At least that's what I've been led to believe by reading all the manuals and speaking with friends who do fly the A330. So this bit here a bit more drag, this means I need to extend some speed brakes to help it get within this line here. And we can slow it. Okay. And at this point we'll on the approach. And it's just a cat on at the minute. And we'll start getting some flaps. So for all the Airbus aircrafts, they like you to have full flaps for landing. No idea what that's all about, but it just appears to be with the Airbus has configured the aircraft. Well, that speed of 132 is a bit too slow for me, so we're going to put it up to 150. And when you're establishing a localizer, can't see a thing, mind you, but we'll make it work. Down. Now, for some reason, on the JarDesign, the brake section overheats, so I normally just put that on, just to avoid the annoying master caution that comes with it. And we are good to go with the approach. Just checking the chat here.
$2,500.
Just another message. So, capture go. There's 500. That's just the radio automatic versus the biometric. I have a good time to save it on the ground. I'm just going to start the AP here. And spoilers are. Oops, that's one thing. And
1,000.
medium auto brake.
Five hundred. 400. 300. 200. 100. 100 above.
Continue.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10. 5. Minimum.
Do taxi here. And spoilers in. Bring the flaps up. Turn all that off. I'll break the shopping. One thing I wish that was on here was, if those of you remember the GSX that we used to get on Flight Sim and Prepared. It was really good, especially if you were trying to park a big aircraft on the stand, and yeah, it was always fun. And go to some that we've got clearance to taxi across. And I'll just go to one of these stands here. That probably wasn't the most elegant way of doing it, but sure. We're just going to stand number 12 here. This is why we need a plug-in for this. Because trying to park big airbus A330 on here isn't always ideal. Up there. Okay. Parking brake on. Engine ignition. Okay. We'll see them slowing down. And that is us. So, I hope you have enjoyed this, and we'll hopefully see you in the next live stream.